have Donna Colorio. She's from Massachusetts. She has a story too. Founder of Common Core Forum, a statewide nonpartisan volunteer citizens group dedicated to replacing the Common Core State Standards Initiative in Massachusetts with academically challenging and age-appropriate educations. Donna, tell us Massachusetts' story.
Got it. Okay, does that sound okay?
Yep.
I'm going to make the same mistakes as I make. Oh, that's right. Hi, thanks everyone for coming. I have a story, and I'm going to talk a little bit different about the activism that's happening in Massachusetts. I'm an activist. I'm not an expert on Common Core, but I have read extensively, and I have educated myself through Sandra and Jamie and other people that have come to our district to help us out in learning more about Common Core. I've been an educator for 22 years at the community college, and I can totally identify with that one-on-one interaction, that student that you have to bring along, where you have to stop your curriculum and what you were planning to do and maybe not do the 9th chapter this semester, just do 8 chapters so they will learn 8 chapters well. So I teach sociology and psychology. I served for 2 years, 2011 and 2013, on the Worcester School Committee, and I am a mother of 3. And my youngest daughter right now is a junior at a Worcester Public Inner City School. And back last year, I formed a statewide parent-led group called the Common Core Forum. When I first started to run for school committee in 2010, a couple of my pre-election questions, debate questions, were, what did I think of the Common Core? So I ran home, I spoke to a friend of mine who had been serving on a local school committee board, and said, what is the Common Core? And he quickly said, you don't want it, it's a federal top-down thing. I Googled, I went back to the debate with the question, saying, nope, don't want it, one size fits all. And they kept going with that one size fits all sort of mantra for a while. When I was elected in 2011, I was appointed to the Vice Chair of Finance and of Governance. And I'm telling you this because when you work on these subcommittees, you understand where the money is coming and where the money is going. And I noticed that the Worcester School Committee budget was increasing tremendously, but our discretionary money was decreasing. And that was important because I couldn't figure that out. So I kept asking my colleagues, like, you know, where's the money going? And it was going to an endless amount of unfunded mandates. One being Common Core, one being the Park Fellows, one being the wraparound coordinators, one being, you know, it just goes on and on. They had to hire an English language liaison of Common Core at $130,000, you know, and they had to get this and that and that. So it just kept getting to me. So I felt that, to be honest with you, like many of you, and I've spoken to a lot of you from the Maine state, and you say, I feel alone, I feel like I'm the only person. Well, we have 190,000 people in Worcester, and I felt I was alone. I kept, every time I got up at the school committee meeting, I would mention something about Park or Common Core. To the point where one of my birthdays was right on a school committee meeting, so I got up very proudly and said, I couldn't think of a better birthday present and then just speak about Common Core. Superintendent rolled her eyes back. She starts to text, because she loves to text, you know, and just be rude. And I just went up there and I just put my points down. I kept pounding. So when I really didn't get anywhere, I called up a colleague of mine and I said, you know, do you know anybody in the state of Massachusetts that would be like an expert on Common Core, but not for it, but against it? And she says, yes, I served on the Board of Ed, or some affiliate with Sandra Stosky. I said, oh, okay, I'll call her up. So I called Sandra up, and she knows the story. And I said, would you be willing to come to Worcester and maybe educate like 12 of us? I figured I could get 12 people, right, to think about Common Core. And she's like, she was very frank with me. She goes, no, you know what you're going to do? You're going to rent the library. You're going to have like 100+ people. And I'm sitting there, oh my God, 100+ people. I'll never do it. And so put on my activist hat thank you to a lot of good people, and we know who they are, really hit the pavement. I wrote an op-ed piece, I did everything he told me to do in an activist school. And I was like, going, okay, please, like 20 people show up. 125, we packed the room. Jamie was there, he knows. And that began my quest to thinking, what we were going to do from this point on. So shortly after the election, well, during the election, you have good news, bad news, so did the deal. Well, the bad news was the Chamber of Commerce basically came after me because I came out of the closet on Common Core. And God forbid, Worcester is a breeding ground for politicians. It is not like you're serving in your local community and you're having conversations. It is where Tim Murray came, Harry Chandler came, we could go on and on. Everybody that's a state set, they all come from the school committee. I'm on the school committee, I hate Common Core, get rid of her. So they put somebody in that was, whatever, and she got elected, and I got out by 100 votes out of 8,000, fine. So one door opens, another closes, so what do? A friend of mine suggested we should have a statewide clearinghouse for Common Core in the state of Massachusetts because we had all these little pockets. We had little communities doing the same thing I was doing, feeling alone. So we decided to formulate what we call the Common Core Forum. And our goal was to educate, I'll just read you, educate parents, school committees, school administrators, and legislators. And we believe in local control of public education, high academic standards, and maximum parental input. Our members strongly believe implementing Common Core will lower student achievement and threaten the considerable gains Massachusetts has made with ed reform. Our group started, I met Shannon standing in the back at a forum. I said, she looks like a winner. And Shannon, sure enough, has been an incredible source of knowledge and research. Dr. Healy is here. She was another one to join our group. So we started out just picking people up, putting them up on our Facebook group, tweeting out. And now we're up to, I'd say, about 2,000 total in the state of Massachusetts. In Elaine, I'm sorry, I didn't mention Elaine, that is working to get rid of Common Core, all in little pockets, all independent. All we do is be a resource to try to get what we think is the winning formula. One of the winning formulas we have found is that when we have Sandra Stosky or Jamie Gass or one or the other, all of a sudden the community wakes up. All of a sudden, they came in hostile. We had one situation in Hopkinton where they had to have a vote, and we were nervous. We saw them commiserating with administration in the audience. We're like, oh, this vote's gonna go bad. And the vote was to whether we should keep our Massachusetts test, the MCAS, or we should go with the park. In each of our districts, unlike Maine, where you had a state vote, Massachusetts, each district could vote whether, we have 300 districts, could vote whether they wanted to stay with the MCAS this year or the park. And interesting enough, that never came out really in the public till about maybe, I'm looking for Shannon, for maybe 4 weeks beforehand, right? Yeah, about 4 weeks beforehand, that came out that the superintendent was going to strong arm the school committees because they didn't even know what park was to get them to vote to park. We got wind of it. We pounded the pavement with emails, letters to the editor. We had forums. Sandra and Jamie came and spoke in Hopkinton. Hopkinton, who we thought was a lost cause, voted unanimously to stay with the MCAS. Wow. Out of the 300 districts, and remind, this is only about 50 of us doing this. There wasn't a big group doing all this pounding the pavement. We're able to get over 50% to stay with the MCAS. And that's a huge, huge thing because we were able to kill the park test in 50 districts. And as some of you know, our Commissioner of Education, Commissioner Chester, is also on the board of
Park.
Yes. And Governor Deval Patrick is on the board of Yes. So, gotta get those pictures. So, we have, through many forums, I'd say, I don't know if Sandy's counting them now, at least probably 30 forums we've had, and sometimes we have, this team is going to be back to back this next 4 days. We have them all over the place. We have communities that they think that there's just one other person there. So through the forums, through our social media, we have been able to work on this. Legislation-wise, we had one bill that asked for an up and down vote on Common Core. It drove completely party lines, except for 2 Democrats. So all the Republicans said they were against Common Core, and all the Democrats said they were for it, except for 2. We also had one legislative rep that put some pieces together, and I don't know the exact verbiage, but one of them was that we would just find now I know this sounds really, really extreme, a cost analysis. Okay, don't all, that's too much, right? It's too much. We don't even want, and you know what? Sharon testified, I testified, and they had, like, the people that testified for it, of course, we followed the money, we knew where they came from. And it was interesting because it was like, we really don't want to know. Really don't want to know what that, so they voted not to have a cost analysis. That was an extreme measure. So we are now, we have worked in, as Peg was mentioning at the end of her speech, is that about getting involved. We have worked very hard in our own districts to talk to our potential candidates that will be coming up in a couple of weeks. Our new state reps, what are they for, against Common Core? And we're really badgering them. Every time our gubernatorial candidates are speaking, we're like, what do you think of Common Core? And it's not just me. That's the good thing. I say, don't say you know me. Okay? So they're like in the audience, and then they come to report, they go, oh my God, it is. So it's really good because we have a lot of troops on the ground, and it's all really vested parents, and they're so educated on Common Core, and they are, just like Erin said, oh, we know when this material comes home. Over the summer, my daughter gets this AP English class. You got that AP English, right? And she had to read 3 books. One was a classic, and 2 of them were economics books. Capital in the 21st Century, and I forgot the other one. Okay, so how can an English teacher, whose content is strong in English, correct, teach economics? So I have seen it, and my daughter's like, I said, can I see that assignment? No. She's like, right now, she's like, I'm zoomed in on it. I have to kind of like sneak when she's sleeping, pull this syllabus out and try to look at it, and she's like, And so everywhere I go, we find that these parents are all doing the same thing, and we very heavily are communicating through social media, and we have to spend a lot of time with it. So my thoughts on where Massachusetts is going is, I think we've had a great awakening. In 2 weeks, hopefully we'll have a new governor. If we have a governor that will at least question, maybe set up some committees, we're going to be right there. If we get a certain governor elected, we're going to be there the next day, advocating for us and doing what we need to do. Because right now we haven't had any movement, and this is the things that you think that maybe just doing your groups, we have parents having coffees at the house, that's all great, but it really has to work with the legislative body. So, as we have said before, remember Massachusetts, Common Core was brought to Massachusetts with 2 signatures, right? No discussion, no debate, no review, and no vote. And I believe it's our job as citizens and parents to know what's happening in our schools. And we had a long history of really trusting our teachers, and we should trust them to some extent, but our administrators are really pulling the wool over our eyes, and they're going along lockstep with, And you guys have a jewel in Maine, having Heidi on the Board of Ed. I wish we could say that ourselves. We do not have that jewel. And so we have a lot of work to do with our legislative body. But I think it begins with the school committees. My advice is, go to your school committee meetings, even if you're the only person there, have your voice be heard in the next school committee election. Remember, school committees in some of your towns are only won by, what, 50 votes? Somebody mentioned they were write-in at 17 votes. Yeah, 17 votes in the write-in. I had to get 8,000 to win, and I won by 2 votes out of 8,000 my first term, and then I had to go to a recount. So Worcester is not what you would call easy, but some of these towns you can get in as a write-in, And what you need to do is you need to make sure that those school committee members know, if you are not going to listen to us, if you're not going to listen to our concerns about Common Core, this is your last term. That's it, you're done. And you step up to the plate and you run against them, and you get the support, because you probably have a lot more support in your town for a non-Common Core person than you do someone that's just, you know, talking away. So I know that I would rather have our teachers and our parents control our child's education than any of the bureaucrats that are up there trying to pull the strings. So I just encourage you to get active, get out there, run for school committee. We really need strong school committee members. I don't care if you've already run and you're coming back for a second term. It's just that this time of our country, it's so important that we have the ground troops there. Thank you.
Thank you.